You thought ancient Rome was all marble statues and noble senators in white togas? Well, yes, but also shared toilet sponges, fermented fish sauce on dessert, and professional armpit hair pluckers. This is a typical day in the life of an ordinary Roman. Get ready. It is going to be weird, wonderful, and sometimes a bit gross. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like a video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always interesting to see who's joining us. Now, dim the lights and let's begin. Welcome to Rome, 115 AD, the greatest city in the world, home to over 1 million people, the center of civilization. And right now, at dawn, someone just emptied their chamber pot out of a window above your head. Welcome to reality. You live on the 4th floor of an insula, a massive apartment building that looks like it might collapse at any moment. Actually, it might. These buildings fall down all the time. Roman landlords build them as tall and cheap as possible to fit more people inside. 5, 6, sometimes 7 floors high, with thin walls and cheaper materials on each level. The higher you live, the more likely you are to die in a building collapse. But hey, the rent is affordable. Sort of. Your apartment is one small room, about 12 feet by 12 feet. That is it. You sleep here, eat here, and store all your possessions here. What possessions? A bed, a table, maybe a lamp, some clay dishes. Romans do not own much stuff because there is nowhere to put it. The truly poor people live in even smaller rooms, sometimes sharing one room with 2 or 3 other families. At least you have your own space. You also have a constant fear that your upstairs neighbor will step too hard and his foot will come through your ceiling. Roman construction is not always reliable. The noise is incredible. Your neighbor on the left is fighting with his wife. Again. The neighbor on the right has a crying baby. The family upstairs is already up and moving around, their footsteps loud on the thin floor. Below you, a shop is opening. You can hear the metal shutters rolling up with a crash. And from the street, the sound of Rome waking up. Carts, animals, people shouting, hammers banging. One ancient Roman writer complained that it was impossible to sleep in Rome. He was right. But wait, there is more. Remember those chamber pots? Most buildings do not have toilets or running water, so people do their business in pots and then dump the contents out the window into the street below. There are laws against this. You are supposed to carry your waste down to the public sewer drains. But at 3 in the morning, when you need to empty your pot, are you really going to walk down 4 flights of stairs? Of course not. You open the window and toss it out, just like everyone else. The law says if you accidentally hit someone with your falling waste, you have to pay them compensation. If it happens at night, you pay less because, well, they should have known better than to walk under windows after dark. The streets of Rome are disgusting. That is just a fact. There are puddles of waste, rotting garbage, dead animals, and random bits of food everywhere. The city has street cleaners, but there are not enough of them. Rich Romans are carried through the streets in litters by slaves so their feet never touch the ground. Smart, rich Romans. You, however, walk. You try to stay close to the buildings and avoid the middle of the street where the worst stuff collects. You also watch the windows above you, just in case. You get out of bed and immediately step on something wet. You hope it is just water. The roof leaks when it rains. Your landlord promised to fix it 6 months ago. He has not fixed it. Roman landlords are famous for taking your rent money and doing absolutely nothing to maintain the buildings. One writer complained that his landlord propped up the cracking walls with sticks and told everyone not to worry. That is quality property management right there. Speaking of problems, let us talk about fire. Roman buildings burn down constantly. The apartments are made of wood. People cook with open flames, and everyone uses oil lamps for light. There is no fire department. Well, actually there is. Rome has the vigils, a group of men who are supposed to fight fires. But they are not very good at it. By the time they arrive, your building is usually already gone. Rich people hire private fire brigades who show up and negotiate a price while your home burns. If you do not pay enough, they let it burn and buy the land cheap afterward. Welcome to the Roman real estate market. You splash water on your face from yesterday's jug. The water is not exactly fresh anymore, but it will do. You think about breakfast. Breakfast in Rome is simple because cooking is dangerous. Remember, open flames in wooden buildings. Many Romans do not cook at home at all. They buy food from the many street vendors and shops. Rome has ancient fast food. Seriously. Thermopolia are shops with large clay jars set into stone counters. Hot food sits in these jars and you can buy a quick meal. Archaeologists found one in Pompeii with 2,000-year-old food still in the jars. Duck bone, goat, pig, fish, and snails. Breakfast of champions. You decide to wait and buy something later. Right now you need to deal with a more pressing issue. Nature calls. Time to visit the public latrine. You head downstairs, carefully, because the stairs are steep and dark and not very safe. You exit onto the street. The sun is just coming up. It is going to be a hot day. Rome in summer is brutal. No air conditioning, no electric fans, just heat, humidity, and the smell of a million people living too close together. The public toilet is around the corner. As you walk, you pass a man urinating against a wall. Totally normal. There are public urinals at various street corners, just stone posts with basins. Men use them freely. Why? Because the urine is valuable. Fullers, the ancient dry cleaners, collect urine to wash clothes. It contains ammonia, which removes stains and grease. So Rome has a urine collection industry. There are even taxes on urine. The Emperor Vespasian taxed the urine trade, and when people complained, he supposedly held up a gold coin and said, "Money does not stink." He was technically correct. You arrive at the public latrine. It is a large room with stone benches running along the walls, holes cut in the benches. About 20 holes, all in one open room. No stalls, no privacy, no doors, just 20 Romans sitting side by side, doing their business and chatting about politics. This is completely normal in Rome. In fact, this is considered civilized. These toilets have running water underneath that carries waste away to the sewers. Very advanced. The lack of privacy. Not a problem for Romans. They actually use this time to socialize. Important business deals happen in public latrines. Politicians discuss laws. Friends make plans. One Roman writer mentions that he came up with his best ideas while sitting in the latrine. You sit down next to a man who immediately starts telling you about his indigestion. You do not know this man. He does not care. He describes his symptoms in detail. On your other side, two men are arguing about chariot racing. The blues versus the greens. This argument might lead to violence. Romans take chariot racing very seriously. They're bunch. Priorities. You finish your business and leave the latrine. You feel accomplished. You survived another morning in Rome. Time to make yourself presentable and face whatever this ridiculous city throws at you next. Let us discuss Roman hygiene. Romans think they are very clean people. They build enormous bath complexes. They create aqueducts to bring fresh water. They look at other cultures and think, those barbarians do not bathe enough. Meanwhile, they share toilet sponges and throw waste out of windows. The irony is strong. Romans do not use soap. This is important. Soap exists. The Gauls make soap. Germans make soap. But Romans think soap is barbaric. Why would you use that foreign nonsense when you have the Roman method? The Roman method is olive oil and scraping. Here is how it works. You cover your entire body in olive oil. You let it soak into your skin along with all your sweat, dirt, and dead skin cells. Then you scrape it all off with a curved metal tool called a strigil. You scrape and scrape until your skin is raw and pink. The oil, now mixed with all your body filth, falls to the floor in disgusting clumps. Romans think this is superior to soap. They are wrong, but they are very confident about it. Rich Romans have slaves who oil them and scrape them. These slaves spend their entire day rubbing oil on people and then scraping it off. Imagine that job interview. What do you do for work? I scrape oil and dead skin off rich people. Some slaves specialize in just one body part. You can have a personal earwax removal slave. Roman life is weird. The scraped off oil, by the way, is collected and sold. Yes, sold. People buy the dirty oil scraped from athletes and gladiators because they think it has healing properties. You can go to the baths and purchase a small bottle of oil scraped from gladiator. It contains the sweat, skin cells, and general body filth of a professional fighter. People rub this on their bodies as medicine. They also drink it for health. Romans believe that the strength and courage of gladiators can transfer through their body oil. This is not how medicine works, but nobody told the Romans. Speaking of gladiators, let us talk about Roman celebrity culture. Gladiators are the ancient equivalent of sports stars and movie actors combined. Women love them. Men want to be them. Their faces appear on lamps, cups, and walls. Gladiator merchandise is everywhere. Rich married women have affairs with gladiators. Some women pay huge amounts of money just to spend an evening with a famous fighter. One emperor's wife allegedly left him to run away with a gladiator. The emperor was not pleased. But back to hygiene. Let us talk about hair removal. Romans hate body hair. Smooth skin is the ideal for both men and women. Hairy is barbaric. Hairy is uncivilized. So Romans remove their body hair by any means necessary. The methods are not pleasant. Rich people have depilatory creams made from substances like arsenic and quicklime. These creams chemically burn the hair off. They also burn your skin. Chemical burns for beauty. Some people use razors, but shaving body hair with ancient blunt iron blades is as painful as it sounds. Many people just have their hair plucked out, by hand, one hair at a time. There are professional hair pluckers in Rome. This is a real job. You can go to the public baths and hire someone to pluck your armpit hair, leg hair, chest hair, and any other hair you want removed. The process is agonizing. One Roman writer complained that you can hear the screams of men having their armpits plucked from blocks away. The hair plucker shouts about his services while his customers scream. Great advertisement. Now, let us address shaving. Roman men are mostly clean-shaven right now. Beards will come back into fashion soon, but today, smooth faces are in. The problem is that shaving in ancient Rome is terrible. Barbers use iron or bronze razors, no shaving cream, maybe some oil or water. The razors are not sharp because good steel does not exist yet. So the barber basically scrapes your face with a dull metal blade while you sit very still and pray. Barbers are not highly trained professionals. Anyone can become a barber. You just set up a chair on the street corner and start cutting. No license required, no hygiene standards. The same razor is used on customer after customer without cleaning. Infections are common. Scars are guaranteed. Nearly every Roman man has small scars all over his face from years of bad shaves.
Rich men have personal barbers who visit their homes. These private barbers are slightly better, but not much. One wealthy Ramo wrote about how his barber cut him so many times that he looked like he had been in a battle. Another complained that his morning shave took 2 hours, and he still ended up bleeding. Some men just give up and grow beards. But wait, beards are currently out of fashion. So these men are mocked as old-fashioned or lazy. You cannot win. Women have even more complicated beauty routines. Pale skin is the ideal. Tan skin means you work outside like a peasant. So wealthy women stay indoors as much as possible. They also use white lead powder on their faces to look paler. Lead powder. Lead is extremely poisonous. Women who use lead makeup for years develop health problems. Their teeth fall out. Their skin develops sores. Some become very ill. But they look fashionably pale, so society considers it worthwhile. Women also use rouge made from red ochre or plant dyes. They darken their eyes with coal and soot. They dye their hair. Blonde is very fashionable because it is rare in Rome. Women use hair dyes made from various ingredients including pigeon dung and leeches. Yes, leeches. You boil leeches in vinegar and use the mixture to darken your hair. For blonde hair, you use saffron, or you buy wigs made from hair imported from Germany. There is a whole industry of hair merchants who travel to Germania, convince local women to cut their hair, and then sell it in Rome as wigs. Capitalism finds a way. Roman women also style their hair in incredibly complex ways. The fashionable hairstyle might involve curls, braids, twists, and a wire frame to hold everything in place. Creating these styles takes hours. Wealthy women have slave hairdressers who do nothing but hair. If the hairdresser makes a mistake, the mistress might punish her. One writer describes a woman who gets very angry with her hairdresser for making a wrong curl. Roman beauty is serious business. And then there are beauty treatments. Romans believe in all sorts of remedies that do not work. Women wear face masks made from bread soaked in milk, or crushed beans, or sometimes sheep fat mixed with various ingredients. Some women sleep with slices of raw meat on their faces to prevent wrinkles. Does raw meat prevent wrinkles? No. Does it smell bad and attract flies? Yes. Men also use beauty products. Balding is considered unattractive, so men try desperate remedies. They rub their heads with everything from goose fat, to ground up horse teeth, to crushed beetles. Julius Caesar was famously sensitive about his baldness. He tried every remedy available. Nothing worked. Eventually, he just combed his thinning hair forward and wore a laurel wreath crown to cover his bald spot. The most powerful man in Rome, defeated by hair loss. Romans also care about smelling good, which is a challenge when you live in a city that smells like sewage. Perfume is very popular. Both men and women wear it. The wealthy drench themselves in expensive perfumes made from imported flowers, spices, and tree resins. Rose, iris, and myrrh are all fashionable. Some people even perfume their pets. Roman excess knows no limits. The poor cannot afford fancy perfumes, so they just try to avoid the worst smells. They stay upwind when possible. They walk quickly past the fullers' shops with their vats of urine and sulfur. They try not to think about what they are stepping in. You finish your morning grooming. You have washed your face. Your hair is combed. Your tunic is relatively clean. You are as presentable as possible without going to the baths. That comes later. Right now, you are ready to venture into the chaos of Roman streets and see what the markets have to offer. Spoiler, some of it is tasty. Some of it is absolutely horrifying. You step into the streets of Rome, and immediately your senses are attacked. The noise, the smells, the crowds. Everything happens at once. Rome has over 1 million people living inside its walls. That is more people than any other city in the ancient world. More people than anywhere else on earth right now. And they are all here, on this street, apparently trying to get somewhere at the exact same time as you. The streets are narrow. Most are barely wide enough for 2 carts to pass each other. But there are no carts right now, because wheeled vehicles are banned during daylight hours. Too much traffic. So the emperor said no carts in the city center during the day. This seems like a good solution until you realize it means all deliveries happen at night, which is why nobody can sleep. But at least during the day, you can walk without getting run over. You just have to avoid everything else trying to kill you. You dodge a man carrying a ladder. Another man walks past with a huge amphora, a clay jar full of wine or oil, balanced on his shoulder. If he drops it, you will be swimming in whatever was inside. A group of slaves carries a rich woman in a litter, basically a fancy chair with curtains and poles. They push through the crowd shouting for people to move. If you do not move fast enough, they will step on you. Social hierarchy in action. The street itself is a mess. There are stepping stones placed across it at intervals. These raised stones let pedestrians cross without stepping in the muck that flows down the middle of the street. And yes, it is exactly the kind of muck you are imagining. Wastewater, garbage, animal droppings, and various liquids you do not want to identify. The streets slope slightly toward the center, so everything flows downhill toward the sewers. In theory. In practice, a lot of it just sits there in the hot sun, creating smells that could knock you over. But mixed in with the bad smells are good ones. You pass a bakery, and the scent of fresh bread makes you stop for a moment. Roman bakeries make bread every day. The ovens run hot, and the bakers start work before dawn. You can buy bread plain, or with cheese baked into it, or with honey. Some bakeries make special shapes for holidays or celebrations. The Romans take their bread seriously. It is the foundation of every meal. When the government wants to keep the population happy, they give out free grain. Bread and circuses. Keep the people fed and entertained, and they will not riot. Usually dot next to the bakery is a taberna, a shop that sells prepared food and wine. The counter has large clay jars sunk into it, each containing different foods. One has lentil stew. Another has sausages. Another has something that might be fish, or might have been fish at some point in the past. The quality varies wildly. Some tabernae serve decent food. Others serve whatever they can get cheap and hope customers are too drunk to notice. People eat at these places because cooking at home is dangerous and time-consuming. Why risk burning down your apartment building when you can buy a meal for a few coins? You continue toward the Forum, the heart of Rome. This is where commerce happens, where politicians give speeches, where lawyers argue cases, where people come to see and be seen. The Forum is surrounded by important buildings, temples, basilicas, government offices. Statues of emperors and heroes stand everywhere. The ground is paved with stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. This is the center of the known world. But first, you need to buy food. The markets around the Forum sell everything. And when I say everything, I mean things you never knew could be food. Romans have access to products from all over the empire and beyond. Spices from India, silk from China, exotic animals from Africa. If it exists somewhere in the world, you can probably buy it in Rome. For the right price. You walk past a fish stall. The smell hits you before you see it. Fish is hugely popular in Rome, but refrigeration does not exist. The fish sits out in the hot sun while the seller splashes it with water to keep it looking fresh. Fresh is relative. You can tell how old the fish is by the smell. This fish has opinions. Loud, smelly opinions. Romans love fish. They eat it fresh, they eat it salted, they eat it pickled, and most importantly, they turn it into garum. Garum is a sauce made from fermented fish guts. Yes, fish guts. You take fish intestines, mix them with salt, and leave them in the sun for several months while they rot. The liquid that results is garum. It smells terrible during production. Like something died, came back to life, and died again. But Romans put garum on everything. Absolutely everything. Meat, vegetables, bread, fruit, desserts, everything. It is the ketchup of ancient Rome. Some types of garum cost more than wine. The best garum comes from Spain and costs a fortune. Romans are obsessed with it. You move on to the vegetable sellers. Here at least the smells are more pleasant. Lettuce, cabbage, onions, garlic, leeks, turnips, beets. Romans eat a lot of vegetables. They also eat fruits. Apples, pears, figs, grapes, dates, cherries. Most of these are grown in Italy or nearby provinces. The vendors shout about their products, trying to attract customers. Fresh lettuce, picked this morning, Only 2 asses. An as is a small copper coin. You need 4 asses to make 1 sestertius, and you need 4 sestertii to make 1 denarius. Roman money is complicated, and you see something strange. A man is selling dormice, not as pets, as food. Romans eat dormice. They are considered a delicacy. People raise them in special jars called dolia, feeding them nuts and acorns until they are fat. Then they cook them, usually stuffed with pork and pine nuts and covered in honey. The Emperor Trajan, who rules Rome right now in 115 AD, loves dormice. If the emperor eats them, everyone wants to eat them. Fashion works the same way in ancient Rome as it does in the modern world. Next to the dormouse seller is a man selling flamingo tongues. Yes, flamingo tongues. Someone caught flamingos, cut out their tongues, and brought them to market. Rich Romans serve these at dinner parties to show how wealthy they are, because nothing says, "I have money," like a plate of bird tongues. The rest of the flamingo gets thrown away, just the tongues. Romans are wasteful. You also see stalls selling garum in different varieties. There is garum made from mackerel, garum made from tuna, garum made from other fish nobody wants to eat whole. There is even a type called a lek, which is the solid chunky stuff left over from making garum. It is cheaper than regular garum, and the poor eat it on bread. Imagine fish paste that has been rotting in the sun for months. Now imagine spreading it on bread for lunch. Welcome to poverty in ancient Rome. The spice sellers have the most interesting stalls. Pepper from India, cinnamon from Arabia, cumin, coriander, mustard seeds. These spices cost enormous amounts of money because they travel thousands of miles to get here. Black pepper is so valuable that people pay rent with it. Pliny the Elder, a Roman writer, complained that Romans waste huge amounts of money importing pepper. He said Romans have no reason to use pepper except that it is expensive and exotic. He was not wrong. Status matters more than taste. You watch a rich man's slave buy saffron. Saffron costs more than gold by weight. You need thousands of tiny flower stigmas to make a small amount of saffron. It is the most expensive spice in the world. Romans use it to color food yellow and to add flavor to dishes. They also use it in perfumes and medicines. Because if you have enough money to buy saffron, you need to make sure everyone knows it. The olive oil sellers have huge amphorae full of oil from different regions. Spanish oil, African oil, Italian oil. Each region produces slightly different oil, and people have preferences. Olive oil is essential in Rome. You cook with it. You light lamps with it. You put it on your body instead of using soap. The olive oil industry is massive. Some merchants make fortunes importing and selling oil. You pass a wine shop. Romans drink wine like modern people drink water. Actually, they drink more wine than water because wine is often safer. The alcohol kills bacteria that might be in the water. Romans almost never drink wine straight. They mix it with water, sometimes hot water, sometimes cold. Drinking unmixed wine is considered barbaric. Only alcoholics and Germans drink pure wine, but mixing ratios vary. Some people prefer more wine than water. Others prefer more water than wine. There are social rules about proper mixing that everyone argues about. The wine shop has different types available. There is cheap wine that tastes like vinegar. There is expensive wine imported from famous regions. There is wine mixed with honey called mulsum. There is wine mixed with herbs and spices. There is even wine mixed with seawater because some people think that tastes good. Romans have interesting ideas about flavor. As you walk through the market, you notice the diversity of people. There are Romans in togas conducting business. There are slaves running errands for their masters. There are foreigners from every corner of the empire and beyond. You hear Latin, Greek, Egyptian, Syrian, Germanic languages, African languages. Rome is a true international city. People come here from everywhere seeking fortune, opportunity, or just survival. A street performer juggles while another plays a flute. A beggar asks for coins. A group of men argues loudly about politics. Two women gossip about their neighbor. Children run between the stalls, stealing bits of food when the sellers are not looking. The sellers shout at them, but the kids are too fast. This has been happening for centuries. It will keep happening for centuries more. You buy some bread, some olives, and a small jug of olive oil. You avoid the fish. The dormice are too expensive. The flamingo tongues are way too expensive. You are an ordinary Roman. You eat ordinary food, most of the time. Maybe on special occasions you can afford something exotic. But not today. Today you just need the basics. Time to head home and prepare a proper Roman breakfast. This will be interesting. You arrive back at your apartment with your purchases. Bread, olives, olive oil, and a small piece of cheese you managed to bargain for. This is breakfast. Well, this will become breakfast once you figure out how to prepare it without burning down the building. Cooking in a Roman apartment is risky business. You have no kitchen. Most apartments do not have kitchens. You have a small portable brazier, which is basically a metal box with holes in it that holds burning charcoal. This is your stove. It produces heat, smoke, and a constant fire hazard. Roman apartment buildings burn down regularly. Everyone knows this. Everyone still cooks with open flames anyway, because what choice do you have? You place the brazier near the window so the smoke can escape. Hopefully, Roman apartments have no chimneys. The smoke just fills your room until it finds a way out through cracks in the walls or the window or the door. Your eyes water. Your lungs protest. But you need hot food, so you deal with it. Besides, everyone's apartment smells like smoke. It is just part of Roman life. You have a few cooking vessels. A clay pot for boiling. A small pan for frying. A couple of wooden spoons. That is basically the entire kitchen equipment of an average Roman. Rich people have elaborate kitchens with multiple hearths, specialized tools, and slaves to do all the cooking. You have a metal box with fire in it, and Romans typically eat 3 meals a day. Breakfast is called ientaculum. It is light, just some bread, maybe cheese, olives, sometimes leftovers from yesterday. The main meal is cena, which happens in the afternoon or evening. That is when Romans eat the big, complicated dishes. Lunch is prandium, usually something quick and simple. Romans do not make breakfast complicated because nobody wants to spend hours cooking first thing in the morning. You tear the bread into pieces and dip it in olive oil. This is the most basic Roman breakfast. Bread and oil. Add some salt if you have it. Maybe some honey if you are lucky. The bread is fresh and still slightly warm from the bakery. The olive oil is good quality, fruity and green. You eat slowly, letting the flavors mix. Simple food, but satisfying. The olives are salty and rich. Romans eat olives at every meal. They grow everywhere in the Mediterranean. Green olives, black olives, olives preserved in brine, olives preserved in oil, olives stuffed with various things. The olive is to Romans what the potato will be to Europeans in the future. Essential. You nibble the cheese. It is made from goat milk and has a sharp, tangy flavor. Romans make cheese from cow, goat, and sheep milk. They age it, they smoke it, they add herbs to it. Cheese is protein that does not spoil quickly. It travels well. Soldiers eat cheese. Workers eat cheese. Everyone eats cheese. But let us talk about what Romans really eat. The food that makes Rome famous. The weird, extravagant, sometimes disturbing dishes that rich Romans serve at their dinner parties. You cannot afford these foods, but you know about them. Everyone knows about them. People gossip about what the wealthy eat the same way modern people gossip about celebrities. First, there is garum. We mentioned it at the market, but we need to discuss it more because Romans are obsessed with garum. Imagine fish sauce, but more intense. Romans put garum on fruit. They put it in wine. They put it in desserts. There are recipes for sweet cakes that include garum. Why? Because Romans believe that combining opposite flavors creates the best dishes. Sweet and salty, sour and rich. They are not entirely wrong. Modern cooking uses this principle too. But Romans take it to extremes. One famous cookbook from this era, written by a man named Epicurus, includes recipes that sound insane. Flamingo boiled with dates. Parrot stew. Roasted dormouse stuffed with pork and pine nuts. Sow's udders. Peacock. Ostrich. If it is exotic and expensive, someone in Rome is eating it. Not because it tastes good necessarily, but because it shows status. Oh, you had chicken for dinner? How common. I had flamingo. Romans also eat parts of animals that other cultures throw away. Brains, tongues, intestines, feet, udders, testicles. Nothing goes to waste if you can sell it. The poor eat these because they are cheap. The rich eat them because their chefs make them fancy. Same food, different presentation, completely different social meaning. There is a dish called porcellum Troianum, which means Trojan pig. You roast a whole pig, but first you stuff it with sausages, birds, and other meats. When you cut it open, at the dinner party, all these different foods spill out. It is a surprise inside a pig. Romans think this is hilarious. Dinner as theater. Romans also love dormice, so much that they deserve more explanation. Dormice are small rodents, like squirrels. Romans raise them in special clay jars in the dark. The dormice eat constantly because they think they need to fatten up for winter hibernation. But winter never comes because they are in jars. So they just get fatter and fatter. When they are plump enough, you kill them, stuff them with pork and nuts, cover them in honey and poppy seeds, and roast them. Wealthy Romans serve these as appetizers. Tiny roasted rodents. Delicious, apparently. Now let us discuss Roman attitudes toward food and digestion. Romans believe that eating too much is fine as long as you make room for more food. How do you make room? You vomit. Yes, really. At fancy dinner parties, Romans eat until they are full. Then they go to a room called a vomitorium and throw up. Then they come back and eat more. The word vomitorium actually refers to the exit passages in theaters and amphitheaters. But Romans do have rooms where you can vomit during meals. This is not considered disgusting. This is considered practical. You want to taste all 12 courses of the feast? You need to empty your stomach a few times. Some Romans use feathers to tickle their throats and induce vomiting. Others just lean over and let nature take its course. Doctors write about the health benefits of regular vomiting. They recommend it for digestion. Modern medicine disagrees strongly, but Romans think they have it figured out. In your simple apartment, you finish your simple breakfast. No flamingo tongues, no stuffed dormice, no garum-covered desserts. Just bread, oil, olives, and cheese. Honestly, your breakfast is probably healthier than what the rich people eat. They can keep their exotic foods. You have the basics, and the basics are good, but you are still hungry. Breakfast was small. That is normal. The big meal comes later. For now, you need to get through the morning. Maybe you will stop at a taberna later for a quick lunch. Something hot and filling. Maybe some lentil stew or a sausage. Nothing fancy. Just fuel. You clean your few dishes with water and a rag. No soap, remember. Romans do not use soap for dishes either. Just water and scrubbing. You hope that is enough to kill whatever bacteria might be growing. Spoiler alert, it probably is not. Food poisoning is common in Rome. especially in summer when food spoils quickly. But what are you going to do? Not eat? That is not an option. You put away your brazier carefully. The charcoal is still hot. You cannot leave it burning while you are gone. That is how fires start. You pour water on it to make sure it is completely out. Steam hisses up. The charcoal sizzles. Good. Crisis averted. Your building will not burn down today. Probably. You look around your small room. Everything you own is here. It is not much, but it is yours. You are luckier than many Romans. You have a roof, a bed, and food. Millions of people in the empire have less. Slavery is everywhere. Poverty is common. You are somewhere in the middle, getting by, surviving. That is success, and ancient Rome got time to leave for the day. You have places to be, people to see. And maybe, if you are lucky, you will encounter something interesting. Maybe someone interesting. Rome is full of possibilities. Some good, some bad, most somewhere in between. The day is young and Rome is waiting. What could possibly go wrong? You step out into the Roman morning and immediately notice something interesting. Graffiti. It is everywhere. Romans write on walls constantly. Political slogans, advertisements, insults, declarations of love, and a surprising amount of content that would not be appropriate for polite conversation. Ancient Romans invented the bathroom stall message thousands of years before bathroom stalls existed. On the wall near your building, someone has written, "Marcus loves Lucilla." Below it, someone else wrote, "Lucilla loves money." Below that, "Marcus has no money." Roman social commentary at its finest. Love and romance in ancient Rome are complicated, entertaining, and often very public. Let us talk about Roman attitudes toward love, sex, and marriage. Fair warning, Romans have very different ideas about relationships than most modern cultures. Some of it is charming. Some of it is bizarre. Much of it would get you arrested in the modern world. But this is ancient Rome, where the rules are different and nobody asked for your opinion about it. First, marriage. Romans get married young. Girls can legally marry at age 12, though most wait until their mid-teens. Boys typically marry in their late teens or early 20s. These marriages are usually arranged by families. Love is nice if it happens, but it is not required. Marriage is about property, alliances, and producing legitimate children. Romance is optional. The marriage ceremony itself is interesting. There are different types of Roman marriage with different legal implications, but let us focus on the traditional ceremony. The bride wears a special outfit with a flame-colored veil. Her hair is arranged in an elaborate style using a spear. Yes, a spear. This symbolizes something about ancient marriage customs that nobody really understands anymore. But tradition is tradition. Before the wedding, the bride dedicates her childhood toys to the household gods. This symbolizes leaving childhood behind. Then there is a procession to the groom's house with much singing and celebrating. When the bride arrives at her new home, she smears the doorway with oil and fat, then decorates it with wool. This is supposed to bring good luck. She is carried over the threshold because stepping on it is bad luck. Romans are very superstitious about doorways. Here is where it gets weird. In very ancient times, there was a custom involving a statue of the god Priapus. Priapus is the god of fertility, and his statues always show him with an enormous, exaggerated phallus. The bride would sit on the statue as part of the ceremony. Yes, you read that correctly. This practice mostly died out by 115 AD, but some traditional families still reference it symbolically. Romans are nothing if not committed to their bizarre traditions. Once married, the couple is expected to produce children. Many children. Rome needs soldiers and farmers and citizens. The upper classes need heirs. Everyone needs someone to take care of them when they are old. Children are essential. The government even passes laws rewarding people who have multiple children and punishing those who do not. But here is the thing about Roman marriage. It does not mean sexual exclusivity, at least not for men. Roman men can have sex with slaves, prostitutes, and unmarried women with no social consequences. Married women, however, are expected to be completely faithful. Get caught cheating as a wife? Your husband can legally kill you. Cheat as a husband? Nobody cares. Double standards are alive and well in ancient Rome. Prostitution is completely legal and common in Rome. There are high-class courtesans who entertain. Wealthy men with conversation and companionship, as well as sex. There are brothels in every neighborhood. There are streetwalkers working the roads. The government taxes prostitutes. Some prostitutes are slaves with no choice. Others are free women trying to make a living. The profession exists at every level of society. The brothels are easy to identify. They have stone phalluses carved above the doorways, pointing the way inside. In case you somehow missed the giant stone phallus, there are often explicit paintings on the exterior walls, showing exactly what services are available. Romans are not subtle. Inside, the rooms are small with stone beds and sometimes helpful frescoes on the walls, showing various positions in case you need visual instructions. Archaeologists love Pompeii because the volcanic ash preserved all these details perfectly. Modern tourists are often surprised by how explicit Roman art can be. Some Roman men prefer the company of other men. This is socially acceptable with certain rules. Roman society does not have the concept of homosexuality or heterosexuality as identities. They have penetration and dominance. A Roman man can have sex with male slaves or younger freemen as long as he is the active partner. Being the passive partner is shameful for a free adult male. It is complicated and deeply tied to ideas about power and social status. Some emperors have male lovers. Some generals keep beautiful young men as companions. As long as certain rules are followed, nobody complains much. Women's sexuality is less discussed in historical records, because Romans do not really care what women think about anything. But we know some things. Wealthy women sometimes have affairs with gladiators or actors. Both professions are considered low class, but they are also dangerous and exciting. The affair between Emperor Marcus Aurelius's wife and a gladiator will become legendary, though it probably did not happen. But people believe it because gladiators are sexy and dangerous and everything proper. Roman matrons are not supposed to want Roman love poetry. Is surprisingly emotional and romantic for such a practical culture. Poets write about heartbreak, longing, passion, and desire. Catullus wrote incredibly moving love poems to a woman he called Lesbia. Ovid wrote guides on the art of seduction. These poems get copied and shared and memorized. Young Romans recite them to impress potential lovers. Some things never change. Speaking of seduction, Romans have their own ideas about flirting and courtship. Eye contact is important. Small gifts matter. Poetry helps. If you want to court someone, you might send them presents. Perfume is popular. So are garlands of flowers. So is food, because everyone loves food. There are also love spells and potions. Romans believe in magic, and love magic is particularly popular. You can buy curse tablets asking the gods to make someone fall in love with you. You can get love potions from herbalists and wise women. Do they work? No. Do people buy them anyway? Absolutely. Desperate love makes people do ridiculous things in every era. Romans also believe in various superstitions about love and marriage. Finding a spider in your room means romance is coming. Seeing two doves together is good luck for lovers. Stepping on a threshold with your left foot first brings bad news in marriage. Romans notice these signs constantly and adjust their behavior accordingly. Superstition is powerful. Back on the street, you walk past a young couple holding hands and laughing. They look happy. Maybe they are newlyweds. Maybe they are having an affair. Maybe they are just friends. It is hard to tell. Roman society has strict rules, but also surprising freedom in certain areas. The gap between official morality and actual behavior is vast. You pass a shrine to Venus, the goddess of love. Someone has left offerings. Fresh flowers, small cakes, coins. People pray to Venus for help with romance constantly. Make him love me. Make her notice me. Help me find a good husband. Help me avoid a bad marriage. The goddess of love is always busy in Rome. You notice more graffiti. If you are looking for good times, ask for Candida at the house with the red door. Advertisement. Below it, someone wrote, Candida is expensive. Below that, Candida is worth it. Roman Yelp reviews dot another wall has a cruder message that we cannot repeat in detail, but it involves someone named Lucius and an anatomically improbable suggestion. Romans have dirty minds and walls to write on. The combination is inevitable. A woman walks past and smiles at you. Is she flirting? Is she just being friendly? You cannot tell. Roman social signals are complex. Smile back? Ignore it? Follow her? Each option has different implications. You decide to smile politely and keep walking, playing it safe. Some situations require careful navigation. Marriage and love in ancient Rome are strange mixtures of practical arrangement and genuine emotion. Strict rules and surprising freedom, public morality and private behavior. People marry for duty, but sometimes find love. They follow rules, but break them constantly. They are romantic and cynical at the same time. They are, in other words, human. Same emotions, different context. Plus more statues of phalluses than any society really needs. But that is Rome for you. Time to move on. The morning is passing, and there are places to be. Specifically, the baths. Time to get properly clean. Roman style. The baths open around noon, and by the time you arrive, they are already crowded. The public baths are one of Rome's greatest achievements, and also one of its strangest social spaces. Imagine a place where you exercise, bathe, socialize, conduct business, gossip, eat snacks, and occasionally get robbed, all while completely naked. Welcome to the Roman Thermi. You pay a small entrance fee. Just a quadrans, the smallest Roman coin. The baths are cheap because the government subsidizes them. Emperors build elaborate bath complexes to win popularity with the people. The current Emperor Trajan just finished building massive new baths a few years ago. They are spectacular. Multiple pools at different temperatures, gardens, libraries, exercise areas, and rooms for various activities. All decorated with marble, mosaics, and statues. The baths are more luxurious than most Romans' homes. That is the point. You enter the changing room called the apoditerium. There are niches in the walls where you place your clothes. There are no lockers. No security. You just put your tunic and sandals in a niche and hope nobody steals them. Theft at the baths is extremely common. There are even professional bath thieves who make their living stealing clothes and belongings. Some people bring slaves specifically to guard their possessions. You do not have a slave, so you just hope for the best and try to remember which niche is yours. Now you are naked. So is everyone else. Men and women usually bathe at different times, though some smaller baths have mixed bathing. Right now, it is men's hour. All around you are naked Romans of every social class. Senators and slaves. Merchants and soldiers. Everyone is equal in the baths. Well, except for the slaves who work here. They are definitely not equal. But among the bathers, social distinctions blur somewhat. The first stop is the exercise area called the palestra. This is an open courtyard where men work out before bathing. Some people wrestle. Others lift weights made of stone or lead. Some play ball games. Romans have several types of ball games with complex rules. The most popular involves throwing and catching a small ball while running. It looks exhausting. You watch two men wrestle. They are covered in oil, which makes them slippery and harder to grip. Wrestling is hugely popular. So is boxing, though Roman boxing is brutal. They wear leather straps wrapped around their fists, sometimes with metal studs. Injuries are common. Broken noses, missing teeth, and scars are badges of honor. You decide to skip the wrestling today. You value your teeth. After working up a sweat, you move to the bathing sequence. Romans have a specific routine. First, you go to the tepidarum, the warm room. This is a transitional space to prepare your body for the hot room. The temperature is pleasant. People sit on benches and chat. You hear conversations about politics, business, sports, and gossip. So much gossip. The baths are where Romans learn everything happening in the city. Next is the caldarium, the hot room. The heat hits you immediately. Steam fills the air. The pool is hot, heated by a system called a hypocaust. Furnaces below the building heat air that circulates through spaces under the floor and inside the walls. Roman engineering at its finest. The water is hot enough to turn your skin pink. You ease yourself in slowly, letting your body adjust. Around you, men are having heated discussions. Two senators debate provincial policy. A group of merchants complain about taxes. An old man lectures a young one about proper behavior. The baths are where Romans conduct business, make deals, exchange information. Many important decisions in Roman history have been made in bathhouses while everyone was naked. It is hard to be pretentious when you have no clothes on. But let us talk about the less glamorous aspects of public bathing. The water is not changed frequently. Everyone bathes in the same water. All day, hundreds of people. No chlorine. No filtration. Just hot water that gets progressively dirtier as the day goes on. You try not to think about it. Neither does anyone else. Ignorance is bliss. Now comes the cleaning process. A slave or bath attendant approaches with a strigil, that curved scraping tool we discussed earlier. First, you get covered in olive oil. The slave rubs it all over your body. Then he scrapes it off with the strigil, taking dirt and dead skin with it. The scraping is not gentle. Your skin turns red. Sometimes it hurts. But this is how Romans get clean, so you endure it. Wealthy men bring their own personal slaves to do this. These slaves carry their master's strigils, oils, and towels in special kits. The slaves scrape their masters carefully, knowing exactly how much pressure to apply. If you do not have a personal slave, you use the bathist slaves, who are less careful because they do not know you, and they have 50 other people waiting. They scrape efficiently, but not gently. The scraped-off oil falls to the floor in gross clumps. Nobody cleans it up immediately. The floor becomes slippery with oil, dead skin, and various body fluids. Walking in the baths requires careful attention. One wrong step, and you are on the floor. Bath injuries are common enough that there are specific medical treatments for them. After the hot room, you move to the frigidarium, the cold room. This has a pool of cold water. Romans believe that alternating hot and cold is good for health. Modern science actually agrees with this one. The shock of cold water after intense heat improves circulation and feels incredibly refreshing. You plunge in, gasping at the temperature change. Around you, other men shout and laugh at the cold. This is the best part of the bathing process. You emerge from the cold pool feeling alive and energized. Your skin is clean, though slightly raw from the scraping. You feel better than you have all day. This is why Romans love the baths. Yes, the water is questionable. Yes, the hygiene is dubious, but the experience is wonderful. Now you can relax in one of the many side rooms. There are rooms for massage. Professional masseurs work on sore muscles, though their techniques are sometimes more painful than helpful. There are rooms where barbers shave and cut hair. There are rooms where you can buy food and drinks. Snacks at the baths are popular. Nothing like eating while naked and wet. There are also rooms for more private activities. Let us just say that Romans sometimes used the baths for purposes beyond bathing. The dim lighting and private spaces make the baths popular for romantic or sexual encounters. This is technically not allowed, but it happens constantly. Bath employees look the other way if you pay them enough. You settle in a quiet corner and observe the crowd. An old man gets his beard trimmed by a barber. Two young men arm wrestle while their friends cheer. A group plays a dice game for money. Gambling at the baths is officially illegal, but universally practiced. A man practices oratory, reciting a speech he is preparing. His dramatic gestures make several people laugh. He does not notice someone nearby is getting their body hair plucked. You can hear his occasional yelps of pain. The hair plucker works methodically, chatting with other clients while yanking out hair. This is her job. She does this all day, every day. She probably goes home and dreams about pulling hair. What a life! The baths are also centers of gossip and news. You learn that the emperor is planning new military campaigns. Someone's wife ran away with a gladiator, or maybe an actor. The details are unclear. A senator was caught in a scandal involving bribes and prostitutes. The price of grain is going up. A new restaurant opened near the Forum with excellent oysters. Information flows through the baths faster than anywhere else in Rome. You also see the less pleasant side of bath culture. Arguments break out over nothing. Someone accuses someone else of cheating at dice. Insults are exchanged. The bathhouse attendants break up the fight before it becomes physical. Bath fights are common entertainment. A pickpocket is caught trying to steal a man's belongings from the changing room. The crowd turns on him immediately. He is beaten and thrown out. Bath justice is swift and brutal. You make a mental note to check on your own belongings soon. After a few hours in the baths, you finally retrieve your clothes. Miraculously, they are still there. Today is a good day. You dress and prepare to leave. Your skin is clean, your muscles are relaxed, and you feel like a new person. The baths have restored you. Until tomorrow, when you get dirty again and repeat the whole process. As you exit, you notice the bathhouse gnomon, a sundial that tells time. It is early afternoon. The day is half over. Time for the next Roman adventure. Food, specifically a proper midday meal, and perhaps some company to share it with. After all, eating alone is fine, but eating with someone interesting is better. Time to see what opportunities Rome offers. For better or worse. Clean and refreshed from the baths, you head toward a popina, a Roman food shop that serves hot meals. Your stomach reminds you that breakfast was hours ago and consisted of just bread and olives. Time for something more substantial. And as luck would have it, you spot a familiar face outside one of the better establishments near the Forum. Her name is Julia. You have known her for a few months. She works as a seamstress in a shop not far from your building. You have talked several times, exchanged smiles, shared a few jokes. There is something there. Maybe, probably. Romans are not always clear about these things. But she smiles when she sees you, which is a good sign. Fancy meeting you here, she says. Her tone is playful. She is with a friend, another young woman who looks at you with obvious curiosity. Julia introduces her as Flavia. The three of you stand awkwardly for a moment before you suggest having lunch together. The women exchange glances. Some silent communication passes between them, and they agree. This is either going very well or about to become very complicated. The Popina has a few tables outside where customers can sit and eat. Most Romans take their food to go, eating while walking or standing. But sitting and talking is more civilized, more social. You find a table and settle in. The owner brings wine mixed with water in clay cups. He lists the day's offerings: lentil stew, sausages, bread, obviously, cheese, some questionable fish, a vegetable dish involving leeks and garlic. You order the stew and sausages. The women order more cautiously, choosing the vegetable dish and bread. Romans eat lunch, called prandium, around midday. It is usually a light meal, nothing fancy. Workers stop briefly to eat before continuing their day. Shops close for an hour or two during the hottest part of the afternoon. This is the Roman version of a lunch break, though some people take it more seriously than others. You have time to linger, to enjoy the food and the company. The food arrives quickly. The lentil stew is thick and hearty, flavored with herbs and, of course, garum. Everything has garum. The sausages are spiced with pepper and fennel, grilled over charcoal until the casings are crispy. They are delicious, probably more so because you are hungry and the company is pleasant. Julia tells stories about difficult customers at the seamstress shop. Flavia adds commentary. You contribute your own observations about Roman life. The conversation flows easily. Romans view food as social glue. Eating together creates bonds. Business deals are made over meals. Friendships form around shared tables. Romantic connections spark during communal dining. Food is never just fuel in Roman culture. It is performance, display, connection, pleasure. Even a simple lunch at a Popina carries social significance. You notice how Julia eats. Delicately, but with genuine appreciation. She tears her bread into small pieces and dips them in olive oil. She samples the vegetables slowly, commenting on the flavors. Romans value people who show proper appreciation for food. Eating too quickly is rude. Eating too little suggests you think yourself above the food or the company. There is an art to eating socially, and Julia understands it. Flavia, meanwhile, watches you both with barely concealed amusement. She is clearly here as a chaperone of sorts. Respectable Roman women do not meet men alone in public. Having a friend along makes everything proper. Flavia seems to approve of you, which is good because her opinion matters. Female friends have significant influence over Roman women's romantic choices. If Flavia decides you are unsuitable, this goes nowhere. The conversation turns to food preferences. Julia admits she loves honey cakes, those sweet pastries sold at bakeries. You confess a weakness for roasted chestnuts from street vendors. Flavia says she could eat olives at every meal and never tire of them. These small revelations matter. Food preferences reveal character in Roman thinking. What you eat, how you eat, what you enjoy, all these things tell others who you are. You order more wine. The owner brings a better vintage this time, less watered down. The afternoon heat makes the wine go to your head slightly. Everyone relaxes. Julia's laugh becomes more frequent. Flavia tells an outrageous story about a customer who tried to return a toga after wearing it to a party and spilling wine on it. You all laugh. These are the small, perfect moments that Romans treasure. But let us discuss the elephant in the room, or rather, the complex web of Roman social and sexual customs that governs interactions like this. Romans have elaborate rules about appropriate behavior between men and women. For upper-class women, the rules are strict. Reputation matters enormously. A woman's worth in the marriage market depends on her perceived virtue. For lower-class women like Julia and Flavia, the rules are somewhat more flexible. They have more freedom, but also fewer protections. If you are interested in Julia romantically, and she is interested in you, there are several possible paths forward. Marriage is one option, though that requires family involvement, financial considerations, and serious commitment. A less formal relationship is another possibility. Romans recognize various types of partnerships outside marriage. Some are socially acceptable. Others are tolerated. The boundaries are complex and shift depending on social class, family connections, and community standards. Physical intimacy before marriage is officially frowned upon for respectable women. In practice, it happens. How much it happens, and under what circumstances, is the subject of endless gossip and speculation. Young Romans find ways to be alone together. Gardens, quiet streets at dusk, rooms above shops. Where there is desire, people find opportunities. But discretion is essential. Getting caught can damage reputations, especially for women. Flavia, reading the situation perfectly, announces she must leave. She has work to finish, customers waiting. She gives Julia a meaningful look, squeezes her hand briefly, and departs. You are now alone with Julia in a public space. Perfectly respectable, but also full of possibility. The gardens near the Tiber are public spaces with trees, flowers, and walking paths. Wealthy Romans have donated them to the city. During the day, they are reasonably populated with strollers, vendors, and people escaping the urban chaos. But there are also quiet corners, secluded spots, places where conversations can become more private. You find a bench under a large tree. The shade is welcome after the afternoon sun. You sit, carefully maintaining a respectable distance. Julia arranges her stola, the long dress Roman women wear. You talk about nothing in particular. The weather, upcoming festivals, a new shop opening near the Forum. But the subtext is everything. This is Roman romance. Part genuine emotion, part social negotiation, part calculated risk. Everyone knows the rules. Everyone bends them slightly. Some people break them and face consequences. Others navigate successfully, finding happiness or at least pleasant companionship within the complex constraints. You and Julia are figuring out which category you fall into, one careful conversation at a time. After parting ways with Julia, with promises to meet again soon and lingering glances that suggest those promises will be kept, you head back into the heart of Rome. The afternoon is progressing, and you have responsibilities. Even in ancient Rome, bills must be paid and work must be done. You are not wealthy enough to live off inheritance or investments. You work for a living, like most Romans. Your occupation is that of a copyist, someone who copies documents and books by hand. Printing does not exist. Every book, every legal document, every official record must be written by hand. This creates constant demand for people with good handwriting and literacy skills. You are lucky. Most Romans cannot read or write. Your skills give you a modest but stable income. You work for a wealthy merchant who needs documents copied, letters written, and accounts maintained. You arrive at the merchant's house, a domus in a better neighborhood than yours. The contrast is stark. While you live in a cramped fourth-floor apartment, your employer lives in a spacious house built around a central courtyard. The atrium has a pool to collect rainwater. The walls are painted with elaborate scenes. There are multiple rooms for different purposes. This is what success looks like in Rome. You are happy to have work, but you cannot help noticing the gap between your life and his. The merchant, Marcus Tullius, greets you in his tablinum, the office where he conducts business. He is a portly man in his 50s, who made his fortune importing grain from Egypt. He gestures to a stack of wax tablets covered in notes. These need to be transferred to papyrus in neat script for his records. There are also several letters to be written to business contacts in other cities. Your afternoon is now booked. You settle at a small desk with your supplies. A roll of papyrus, an inkwell containing black ink made from soot and gum, and a reed pen with a split tip. Writing in ancient Rome requires patience and precision. You cannot erase mistakes on papyrus easily. You must form each letter carefully, keeping your lines straight without ruled guides. After years of practice, your hand moves steadily across the page. As you work, the household continues its activities around you. Slaves move through the halls carrying various items. Marcus Tullius's wife, Claudia, argues with someone about dinner preparations. Their teenage son practices reciting Greek poetry, his voice drifting from another room. His pronunciation is terrible. You try not to smile. Rich Romans hire Greek tutors for their children because Greek education is fashionable. Whether the children actually learn anything is another matter. Roman households are busy, noisy places, especially wealthy ones. A domus might house the main family, various relatives, dozens of slaves, sometimes clients and dependents. Privacy is limited even for the rich. People constantly move through shared spaces. Conversations overlap. Activities happen simultaneously in different rooms. You learn to concentrate despite the distractions. A slave brings you watered wine and a snack. Romans believe working without refreshment is unreasonable. Even slaves get meal breaks. You are not a slave, you are a hired worker, so you receive slightly better treatment. The snack is bread with olive paste and some dried fruit. Simple but welcome. You eat while reviewing your work. The letters are coming along well. Your handwriting is clean and professional. Marcus Tullius stops by to check your progress. He reads over your shoulder, nodding approval. Good, good, good. Make sure you emphasize that the shipment must arrive before the festival. These Alexandrian merchants need clear instructions, or they conveniently forget deadlines. He is referring to a grain shipment from Egypt. The grain trade is enormously profitable, but also risky. Ships sink, merchants cheat, pirates attack. Fortunes are made and lost on individual shipments. Your employer has done well, but he worries constantly. He lingers, clearly wanting to talk. Romans of his class enjoy hearing themselves speak. Did you hear about Senator Gaius? He asks. You have not. Caught with another man's wife. The husband is demanding divorce and return of dowry. Scandal everywhere. These senators think they can do anything. He shakes his head, delighting in the gossip while pretending to disapprove. This is how news spreads in Rome. Person to person, story to story, gossip building on gossip, until nobody remembers what is actually true. By tomorrow, the story will have 3 different versions. By next week, it will be legend. Romans love scandal. The more salacious the details, the more people repeat them. Sex and money, the eternal subjects of gossip. Marcus Tullius wanders off to bother someone else. You return to your work. The afternoon light is changing, becoming softer and more golden. Hours pass. Your hand cramps slightly. Copying text is physically demanding work. Your fingers tire. Your back aches from hunching over the desk. But the work is methodical and oddly satisfying. You watch the blank papyrus fill with neat rows of letters. Order created from chaos. While you work, your mind wanders to Julia. You replay the afternoon, analyzing every word and gesture. Romans overthink romantic interactions just as much as modern people. Did she mean what you think she meant? Will she meet you again? What if her family disapproves? What if she is just being friendly and you misread everything? These questions circle endlessly. Love makes people anxious in every era. But you also think about practicalities. If you want to pursue a relationship with Julia, there are considerations. Where would you live? Your apartment barely fits you. Marriage requires resources. Children require more resources. Roman life is expensive. Everything costs money. Food, clothing, rent, offerings to the gods, festival expenses, social obligations. Your income is decent, but not lavish. These are not romantic thoughts, but they are necessary ones. You finish the last letter as the sun begins its descent. Marcus Tullius reviews your work carefully. He is a demanding employer, but fair. He pays you in silver denarii, counting them carefully. The coins clink satisfyingly in your hand. This is why you do this work. Money, the universal motivator. You thank him and prepare to leave. As you exit the domus, you pass through streets now filling with people heading home from their own work. Rome at evening is different from Rome in morning or afternoon. The heat begins to fade. The light becomes beautiful. People relax slightly, their workday obligations ending. The city transitions from commercial energy to social energy. Evening is for gathering, eating, talking, drinking. Evening is when Romans live rather than just survive. You decide to stop at a wine shop. You have money in your pocket and thirst in your throat. The shop is crowded with men from the neighborhood. Some you recognize, others are strangers. You order a cup of wine and find a space against the wall. The wine is rough and cheap, but satisfying. Conversations swirl around you. Politics, sports, women, money. The eternal topics. A man next to you starts complaining about his wife. She spends too much. She nags constantly. Her mother visits too often. His friends commiserate while also defending their own wives. Roman marital complaining is ritualized. Men are expected to grumble about marriage while also maintaining households. It is a performance, mostly, though some marriages truly are unhappy. Divorce is common and relatively easy in Rome. If a marriage does not work, people end it and try again with someone else. You listen without engaging much. Your thoughts are still on Julia, on the afternoon in the gardens, on possibilities. Perhaps you are foolish. Perhaps you are hopeful. Perhaps you are simply human, wanting connection in a crowded city that can feel desperately lonely despite its million inhabitants. The evening deepens. Time to head home. But first, dinner. And dinner in Rome is never just dinner. It is event, entertainment, and endurance test all at once. Time to see what the night brings. You have been invited to dinner. This is not unusual. Romans are social creatures who rarely eat alone when they can help it. Tonight you are dining at the home of Gaius Antonius, a moderately successful wine merchant you met through Marcus Tullius. Gaius is hosting what he calls a modest dinner party. In Rome, modest is a relative term. What wealthy Romans consider modest would bankrupt an ordinary person. You arrive at his house just as the sun sets. The doorkeeper, a slave stationed at the entrance, checks your name against a list and admits you. The atrium is already filled with guests. About a dozen people mingle, drinking wine and chatting before the meal begins. You recognize a few faces. A lawyer, a fabric merchant, a grain trader, and several others whose exact occupations you cannot remember. Roman social events mix business and pleasure constantly. A slave offers you a cup of mulsum, wine mixed with honey. It is sweet and strong. You accept gratefully. Another slave brings a basin and towel to wash your hands. Cleanliness before eating is important to Romans, even if their definition of clean is questionable by modern standards. You wash, dry your hands, and join the social circulation. Romans do not eat dinner sitting at tables and chairs. That would be far too simple. Instead, they recline on couches arranged around a central area. 3 couches form a U-shape with the opening toward the serving area. This arrangement is called a triclinium. Each couch fits 3 people who lie on their left sides, propped up on cushions, leaving their right hands free for eating. If this sounds uncomfortable, that is because it is. Romans think it is sophisticated. Gaius announces that dinner is ready. Everyone moves to the dining room and takes their assigned positions on the couches. There is a social hierarchy to seating. The most honored guest gets the best position. Lesser guests are arranged by importance. You end up in a middle position, neither honored nor insulted. Perfectly adequate. The couch cushions are soft, but the angle is awkward. You try to find a comfortable position. This will be a long meal. The first course arrives. Roman dinners typically have 3 main parts: appetizers, main courses, and dessert. but wealthy Romans subdivide these into many smaller courses. Tonight will feature at least 7 or 8 different dishes. Pacing yourself is essential. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The appetizers include eggs in various preparations. Boiled eggs with pine nut sauce. Eggs mixed with garum. Romans love eggs. There are also vegetables including lettuce with herbs, mushrooms cooked with garlic, and beets in honey vinegar. Small pieces of bread are available for mopping up sauces. Everything is rich and heavily seasoned. Garum is, unsurprisingly, everywhere. You eat with your fingers. Romans have spoons for liquid dishes, but no forks. You tear food into bite-sized pieces and eat carefully, trying not to drip sauce on yourself or the couch. This is harder than it sounds when you are reclining at an angle. Other guests manage with varying degrees of success. One man already has sauce on his tunic. Nobody comments. Dinner stains are inevitable. Between courses, slaves bring fresh bowls of water to rinse fingers. They also bring more wine, constantly refilling cups. Romans drink steadily throughout dinner. The wine is better quality than the cheap stuff at neighborhood shops, but still mixed with water. The ratio seems to be getting more wine-heavy as the evening progresses. By the end of the night, everyone will be at least slightly drunk. This is expected. The main courses begin arriving. First, fish. A large mullet baked with herbs and olive oil. Romans prize mullet highly. Some varieties cost enormous sums. Gaius makes sure everyone knows this particular fish was expensive. Showing off is part of hosting. The fish is good, tender, and flavorful. You take a modest portion, aware that many more dishes are coming. Next comes roasted pork with apples. The pork is tender, and the combination of savory meat with sweet fruit demonstrates that Roman love of contrasting flavors. Then there is chicken in a complex sauce involving wine, honey, garum, and various spices you cannot identify. Each dish is richer than the last. Your stomach is beginning to protest, but you continue eating. Refusing food insults the host. The conversation flows with the wine. Politics are discussed. Everyone has opinions about the emperor's policies. Some approve of Trajan's military campaigns. Others worry about the cost. Nobody speaks too critically. You never know who might report unfavorable comments. Romans are paranoid about treason charges, and rightly so. Many careers have ended over an unguarded word at a dinner party. The talk shifts to gossip. That senator caught with another man's wife, the one Marcus Tullius mentioned earlier. The story has already evolved. Now it involves a chase through the forum and threats of violence. Whether any of this is true is impossible to determine. Roman gossip is like a game of telephone played by drunk people. Entertaining, but unreliable. Someone tells a joke. It involves a man from Gaul, a prostitute, and a misunderstanding about the word for fish. Everyone laughs. Roman humor is surprisingly crude. They enjoy puns, sexual innuendo, and jokes at the expense of foreigners. Comedy standards have not changed much in 2,000 years. More food arrives. A whole roasted rabbit with herbs. Sausages grilled with fennel seeds. A dish involving peas and bacon that is actually quite good, despite how full you are. You eat smaller portions now, but you keep eating. The meal continues relentlessly. Romans view abundance as virtue. The more food, the better the host. Between the main courses and dessert, there is a brief pause. Some guests take this opportunity to step outside to the latrine, or possibly to vomit and make room for more food. Romans are practical about these matters. If you have eaten too much, but more courses are coming, you do what needs to be done. You stay put, breathing deeply and hoping your stomach cooperates. Dessert arrives. Fruits including apples, pears, and grapes. Honey cakes drizzled with more honey. Dates stuffed with nuts. Cheese with honey. Everything is sweet and sticky. Romans love honey because they have no sugar. Honey is their only sweetener, so they use it generously. You sample the honey cakes because Julia mentioned loving them. The cakes are good, though very sweet. Your teeth will probably hurt tomorrow. Throughout the meal, slaves have been constantly moving, bringing food, removing empty dishes, refilling wine cups, cleaning up spills. They work silently and efficiently. Romans barely notice them. Slaves are so integrated into daily life that they become invisible. This makes you slightly uncomfortable, but speaking up would mark you as strange. Roman society runs on slavery. Nobody questions it. Well, almost nobody. As dinner winds down, the conversation becomes louder and less coherent. Everyone is drunk to varying degrees. Someone suggests entertainment. A slave is called to play the lyre. She performs competently while guests talk over her. Romans appreciate music, but also ignore it constantly. Background entertainment is just that, background. Another guest recites poetry from memory. It is Ovid, something about love and transformation. The recitation is passionate, but slurred. Others applaud anyway. Cultural performance at dinner parties is expected. Someone always recites poetry or displays their education somehow. Tonight you are spared performing, which is fortunate given your wine consumption. Finally, after hours of eating and drinking, the dinner party begins breaking up. Guests thank Gaius profusely. He accepts praise with practiced modesty, while clearly pleased with himself. The evening was a success. Lots of food, good wine, entertaining conversation. This is what Romans strive for. Community, abundance, pleasure. You stumble into the night with several other guests. The streets are dark except for occasional lamps. Rome at night is dangerous. Criminals operate freely. There is no organized police force. You stick with the group for safety. Everyone is drunk and happy, laughing about jokes from dinner, already planning the next gathering. You finally reach your building. The stairs to your fourth-floor apartment seem steeper than usual. Your stomach is uncomfortably full. Your head is spinning slightly from wine. But you feel satisfied, fed, social, connected. These moments are what make Roman life bearable, despite all its hardships and absurdities. Food shared is more than nutrition. It is civilization itself. Time for sleep. Tomorrow brings another day in Rome with all its chaos and opportunities. But tonight, you are full, tipsy, and content. Sometimes that is enough. You climb the stairs to your apartment slowly, gripping the wall for support. Your legs are unsteady from wine, and your stomach protests the evening's excess. The stairwell is completely dark. No lamps, no moonlight penetrating this deep into the building. You count steps by memory, hoping you do not trip and tumble backward. Dying from a drunken fall down apartment stairs would be an undignified end, though not uncommon in Rome. The night vigils find bodies regularly. You reach your door finally and fumble with the lock. Roman locks are simple iron mechanisms, but difficult to operate when drunk. After some struggle, you get inside. Your room is dark and stuffy. The heat of the day has not fully dissipated. You leave the small window open, despite the risks. Thieves could theoretically climb up, but you are 4 floors up and have nothing worth stealing. Fresh air is worth the minimal danger. You light your oil lamp with shaking hands. The flame flickers to life, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Oil lamps are the only source of light after sunset in Rome, unless you are wealthy enough to afford multiple lamps or torches. Most Romans go to bed when the sun sets because doing anything in the dark is difficult and wastes expensive oil. Tonight you are awake because the dinner party ran late. Your body knows it should be asleep already. You pour water from your jug into a basin and splash your face. The water is warm and not particularly fresh, but it helps clear your head slightly. You rinse your mouth, trying to remove the taste of wine and honey that coats your tongue. Romans do not have toothbrushes as we know them, but you scrub your teeth with your finger and some ground charcoal. Better than nothing. Your tunic smells like food and sweat. You peel it off and drape it over the chair. Tomorrow, you will need to have it cleaned. You stand in just your under tunic, feeling the slight breeze from the window. For a moment, you simply breathe, letting the day settle around you. What a strange, full day it has been. So much happened between sunrise and now. Rome compresses experience. Every day contains multitudes. You think about Julia again. Always back to Julia. The memory of her smile, her laugh, the way she looked at you in the gardens. Romans believe in omens and signs from the gods. Was meeting her today significant? Is something beginning? You want to believe so. Hope is dangerous, but irresistible. Tomorrow, you will try to see her again. Find an excuse to visit her shop. Just passing by has been a transparent excuse for thousands of years, but people use it anyway because sometimes it works. You also think about the dinner party, the excess of it, the casual wealth. Gaius spent more on one meal than you earn in a month. This is normal in Rome. The gap between rich and poor is staggering. You are not poor exactly. You have work, shelter, food, but you are not comfortable either. You exist in the precarious middle, always one disaster away from poverty. An injury that prevents you from working. A powerful person taking offense at something you said. The theft of your savings. Any of these could destroy the small stability you have built. This is life for millions in Rome. You work, you survive, you hope for small pleasures to make it worthwhile. A good meal. A pretty girl smiling. Wine with friends. A job that does not crush your soul entirely. These small things are everything. The wealthy pursue exotic foods and elaborate entertainment to feel something, anything, through their jaded luxury. You need only simple things, because simple things are harder to obtain. You lie down on your bed. The straw mattress is lumpy and the wool blanket is scratchy, but you are used to it. This is your bed, in this room, in this building, in this city. Rome contains your entire world. You have never traveled far from the city. Most Romans never do. Travel is expensive, dangerous, and slow. Your world is Rome, and Rome is the world. Everything important happens here. Everyone who matters is here. Beyond Rome is just provinces and barbarians. Or so Romans tell themselves. Through the thin walls, you hear your neighbors. Someone is arguing in a low, angry voice. Someone else is crying. A baby wails briefly before being soothed. These are the sounds of Roman apartment life. Noise, always noise. Privacy is a luxury you cannot afford. Everyone hears everyone else's business. Arguments, celebrations, intimate moments, grief. All shared whether you want to share or not. But there is also comfort in the noise. It means you are not alone. Hundreds of people surround you in this building and the buildings nearby. Millions in the city. You are part of something vast and ancient and ongoing. Rome existed before you were born and will exist after you die. You are one small thread in an enormous tapestry. This is oddly comforting. Your individual life may be insignificant, but you participate in something greater than yourself. You blow out the oil lamp. Darkness envelops the room completely. No streetlights, no electric glow. Just pure darkness, broken occasionally by moonlight through the window. This is night as humans experienced it for most of history. Complete, absolute, slightly frightening. In the darkness, your thoughts drift. You think about your parents, long dead now. Your father was a shopkeeper who never made much money but took pride in his work. Your mother was kind and tired, always tired. They brought you into this world and did their best with limited resources. You survived childhood, which many do not. You learned to read and write, which most do not. You have work and prospects, however modest. They would be proud, you think, or at least satisfied. Roman parents do not expect much beyond survival and basic respectability. You think about the gods. Do they watch over Rome? Do they care about individual humans? Romans pray constantly, make offerings, observe rituals. But do the gods actually intervene? The evidence is mixed. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to terrible people. The gods seem arbitrary at best, indifferent at worst. But you follow the customs anyway, because not doing so is dangerous. Better to hedge your bets. Light some incense. Say the prayers. Hope someone is listening. You think about the future. What will tomorrow bring? More work, certainly. Hopefully another chance to see Julia. Perhaps an opportunity you have not yet imagined. Romans believe in fate, but also in virtue and effort. The gods determine much, but humans must still act. You can shape your life somewhat within the constraints of your circumstances. This is all anyone can do. Try, hope, endure. Sleep begins creeping over you. Your thoughts become less coherent, more dreamlike. Images float past. Julia's face. The forum at sunrise. The baths full of naked Romans arguing about politics. Garum on everything. Flamingo tongues. Shared toilet sponges. Rome in all its glory and absurdity. This strange, magnificent, filthy, beautiful, cruel, generous city that contains your entire existence. Tomorrow the sun will rise again over Rome. Cart drivers will rattle through the streets. Bakers will bake. Markets will open. The baths will fill. Dinner parties will begin. Life will continue exactly as it has for centuries. You will wake up and do it all again. Work, eat, hope, survive. This is what it means to be Ramon. This is what it means to be human. Your breathing slows. Your muscles relax. Sleep finally claims you. Outside, Rome continues its endless cycle. The city never truly sleeps, but you do. And in sleep, at least for a few hours, you are free from the noise and chaos and struggle. In dreams, anything is possible. Even a simple copyist can imagine a different life. Even in Rome, hope persists. The day is over. Another one begins tomorrow. This is life. This is Rome. This is enough.